We're now here at the actual site of the prison complex. The prison was dismantled in 1866, so there are no buildings or walls left. It's all an archaeological site here. This pole in the background, the yellow pole, represents the southwest corner of the prison, and it was expanded in 1864 to that point, enlarged about 100 feet all along the western wall. The sign that you see here is representative of this being a National Historic Landmark. It was designated a National Historic Landmark in 1990, and it was designated such because of several reasons. The most important is that the archaeological record here is pretty much unprecedented. There's evidence of archaeological remains from 1862 to 1865 documenting the entire prisoner of war treatment. In addition to the archaeological record that's here, the site is important and nationally important because it housed over 10,000 Confederate officers from battles that occurred throughout the Civil War, from the early battles of 1862 until the last battles of 1865. Over 10,000 Confederate officers were imprisoned here. This prison was built solely as a prison by the Union government. It was the only one built as such. There's no other prison that was operating just as a prison and not having other military facilities with it. At the dedication of this sign, we were given this flag that flew over the United States Capitol building to help commemorate the fact that this is a nationally important historical site. What you're looking at here are, again, the extension of the yellow poles along the western wall going north, and those represent how the prison was expanded. Inside those poles you'll see the red poles, and those poles represent where the deadline was. And when they expanded the prison out to the west, they created a deadline 30 feet in from that, and prisoners who crossed that deadline would be shot. Also inside the wall, just inside where the poles are, the yellow poles, there's a ditch that was dug so that the prisoners couldn't escape by tunneling, which was a major problem up until July of 1864 when they expanded. And as we pan further around, you'll notice that there's a fairly large area that's clear of the trees, and that area is an area that we've been conducting investigations and archaeological work in for years. The red and yellow poles that you're looking at are the poles that represent the 1862 wall that was built when the prison first opened up. You'll notice that the deadline there was only 10 feet in. That caused problems in terms of the prisoners being able to tunnel and being very close to the wall. So that's why when they did the expansion in 1864, they increased the deadline to 30 feet. As we come across this grass area here, you'll notice that there are blue poles, and the blue poles represent the buildings that stood out here. Of course, everything was auctioned off and torn down in 1866, so after 1866 there was no above-ground indications of what was here. These two poles here represent the corner of one of the blocks, a block number 2, and then the next two represent the corners of block 4, and each building was about 130 feet long, so you'll notice that the next poles for block 4 are quite a bit of distance down there, and that just represents how big each one of these blocks were that the prisoners were housed in. There were 13 blocks that the prisoners were housed in. 12 of them actually held prisoners, just normal prisoners, and the 13th block, block number 6, was the block that was used as a prison hospital. And that's the one that we've been doing archaeological work on for the last 3 years.